We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and today we are bringing to your attention, hopefully to make you wake up, make you more aware, via this video of this movement or group based in the USA, named the Black Hebrew Israelites, who claim that Jesus was black, Moses was black, Solomon was black, everybody was black, and that they're the Black Hebrew Israelites, the true Jews. We will prove through this particular video that they are false teachers, preachers, and just another popular cult. We have nothing against these coloured brothers because we realise they are trying to find their identity. So they've taken on a movement that was probably created in 1970s, i.e. the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. The ideologies, etc., and are running with them. We will prove that they are taking these scriptures out of context and twisting them, giving false interpretations, teaching and preaching falsities, and that they are not of God. They have a form of godliness, but they're not of God. Through this video, we will compare their Bible readings, interpretations, understandings, what they utter, with the original ancient, very old Galilean Aramaic New Testament manuscripts hidden from Emperor Constantine and the Imperial Roman Church, because it was the mother church, it wanted to be the mother church, anybody else had to be subject to it. It was a mixture of Christianity and paganism. So they had therefore preserved the original ancient, very old Galilean Aramaic manuscripts, texts handed to the original ancient, very old Apostolic Church of the East High Priest, which was founded by St. Thomas, a disciple of Jesus, or Mar. He gave them these manuscripts, these writings of what the Christ actually said and did, because they were hanging around with him for 3 to 3.5 years during his ministry. They were with him 24/7, 365. So when their church or their congregation or their place of gathering in Jerusalem was destroyed, they ran across lands with these manuscripts. Possibly went to, they preached in India, China, Japan, apparently, before their martyrdom, before Thomas's martyrdom. So this original ancient, very old Apostolic Church of the East, again, hid and therefore preserved these manuscripts for over 2,000 years. They were persecuted throughout the centuries by the Tamerlanes, Genghis Khan, the Mongols, and so forth, even the Mohammedans, i.e. Islam, especially the caliphates. They went through a lot of persecution, called heretics, martyred, etc., for at least 10 or more, perhaps 18 centuries. But as a peoples and as believers, they survived. And then there was this Reformed Apostolic Church of the East that came later. So they had these manuscripts, and one of their head patriarchates, Ma Isa Shamun, in 1957, was on Andrew Gabriel Roth's website, the AramaicsCriptures.com, but he took it down for some reason. It was taken down, where it states that the day that the original Galilean Aramaic manuscripts were handed over to the high priest of that church by the blessed hands of St. Thomas or Mar Thoma, it's hidden there, preserved for 2,000 years, latent, is never tampered with, never translated into another language, because they had no need to, because they spoke, it's a dead language, right? So they spoke a modern vernacular through their liturgy to the people who attended their masses or their church services, right? Because they too were native born Aramaic Syriac speakers, so they understood it. So it's exclusively for them, for those particular people in that particular church or that particular geographical location. And this was the Bible format copy of these were given to Victor N. Alexander, the translator Aramaic speaking translator from Berean or Mesopotamia, and he found a way to translate those original ancient manuscripts, or ancient old manuscripts, into the nearest English equivalent using the root words of that modern vernacular, apparently, and everything else that applies to it. Well, we went on an AI and prompted it to find out what it would say in regards to all this Victor Ian Alexander's translation project, right? It basically said, yeah, okay, but okay, he'd have to do this, he'd have to do that, and we looked at it. There's about 6 or 7 points. Yeah, that's probably what he did. It was really good. Okay, so we're going to look at this video also and compare what they have to say. We don't know exactly what version they're reading from, possibly the New King James or something, for something like that. The modern Americanized modern English version that most people have, be it ESV, RSV, SV, New King James, Amplified Bible, whatever. They're all coming from this one mother church, right? There's scribes throughout the centuries, supposedly translated from the original Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek. They couldn't have, because it's a long dead language, so they probably translated from a modern version, modern derivative of vernacular, and they corrupted it all throughout the centuries. So all these versions were put out by the American Bible Society, along with the pamphlets, which are apparently full of lies, and affiliated Bible societies like that. So you haven't got the original manuscripts. Okay, so it's not translated from the original languages, the original manuscripts, right? These old dead languages. You've got it from a modern derivative or version, vernacular of that language, which is probably something like modern Galilean Aramaic, if that exists, modern Syriac, modern Israeli Hebrew, Latinized Greek, etc. They're not from the original manuscript, so there'll be copies of copies of copies of copies of a copy, as Bart D. Ehrman, top theologian, agnostic atheist, loves to say on his lectures and all that sort of stuff. You don't have the original manuscripts, but he's mainly a Greek pusher, right? The Greek translations. Western theology and theologians, scholars, etc., they favour the Greek translation. They completely ignore the Aramaic. They say, Jesus spoke Galilean Aramaic, but it was all written in Greek and all this sort of stuff. Jesus spoke Greek. All these excuses, right? Because they're deliberately ignoring the old Eastern terminology, theology terminology, in favour of their Western terminology, theology. Yeah, so it's not so much that's the problem. The interpretation is the problem. It's not so much the problem. It's that Western theology, Western terminology that they're using to push their doctrines, their dogmas, etc. Right? Get it out there, right? Be number one, etc., etc. Okay, so we're going to watch this video to see what they have to say and comment during it.
That's why you turn the corner, you see fringes and border blue.
That's right, brother.
Okay, see, so what they're talking about is these fringes here on their shirt. Okay, this goes way back to the old Mosaic days, right? Moses' days, House of Israel, where they were commanded by God to put these fringes on their clothing for whatever reason. So they're trying to emulate that old Mosaic, that Old Testament laws, right? They're trying to emulate that, thinking that if they do that, well, that's good points with God, and they possibly get into the kingdom of God, or this sort of stuff, right? Okay, but they're living in that Old Testament, that Old Covenant, when along came Jesus and his New Covenant. Okay. Okay. These little sacrifices, or what they call in the Aramaic, or Holocaust in the Aramaic, or little sacrifices, these rituals, these rites that they do, cleaning outside of the cup or cleaning inside of the cup, Christ says, all that sort of thing that they do before they eat. They wash their hands. The Jews used to wash their hands up to their elbows and all this sort of stuff before they ate or touched food or whatever. All these traditions. He was basically saying, it's more important to give your all to me. It's more valued than all this cup cleaning and all this stuff. You're cleaning, and he uses symbolically, right, to the Pharisees. You're cleaning the outside of the cup. Why aren't you cleaning the inside? Yeah, which is symbolic for you have this outward cleanliness, this form of godliness that everybody sees, but inwardly you're like the tombs, right? The sepulchres, right? So why don't you try cleaning the inside of the cup, okay? As well. Clean yourself up, clean your act up, Stop pretending, because they're very pompous and full of pride and all that sort of stuff. Like they'd go down the street, and they'd have some people with trumpets, whatever, announcing that they're walking down the street. They'll sit in the best places at feasts or festivals, get the best food, drink, etc. like that, right? They're very self-centered, and corrupt, and they're very enforcing of those particular Mosaic laws, right? So much so that you couldn't do anything, everything would be, you've sinned, you've done this, you've done that. And that's why Christ said, you've shut the doors to the gates of heaven to these everyday ordinary people, right? Because of their corrupted rituals and laws and all this sort of stuff, right? They made a total mess of it. Okay, so we'll carry on with this.
Right? Because, hey, we got to be tired of something. All right? But we just going to sit here and continue to be destroyed. There's got to be a remnant that's tired of this oppression. Right. Go ahead. And his daily rule was him. Yeah, what? Give me a matter of fact. She talking about.
So it's like the Pharisees, they got to be announced. They got to speak loud, bellow it out. It's an attention thing as well. Get people's attention. Does he have to hold the Bible up way up and above his head and bellow like that?
The Pope and Donald Trump. Give me Wisdom of Solomon 6:1.
Read it out.
Give me Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6 verse 1. Since let's get into what God said about these leaders, about the so-called leaders of this world. Bunch of demons and Satanists, man. They don't have any good intentions for us as a people.
That's right.
They have no good intentions for us as a people. What is Donald Trump? Donald Trump coming to office, or you gonna kick the Mexicans out and build a wall?
Okay, so let's have a look at that particular verse. He's talking about the Wisdom of Solomon 6:1 onwards. It's basically talking about the kings, those in authority, those rulers in that day. Okay, in Solomon's day, someone, it's probably God speaking to these particular rulers, saying, "Kings, listen up and understand, learn that you are judges of the ends of the earth, or the nations of the earth, right? Right, you're in authority. So give ear, listen, you that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations." Right? Okay, they're one person amongst thousands, hundreds of thousands. So they're honoured, they're glorified in that multitude amongst those people, right? Okay, because they hold their authority, they're respected, all that sort of stuff. For power is given you of the Lord. So their authority, their rule is given them by God. And sovereignty from the highest, or that power to rule, etc., to be chosen to rule, given that authority by God. Who shall try your works and search out your counsels, to see if they're actually abiding by God's laws He's given them, okay, as authority figures. Because being ministers of His kingdom, you have not judged aright. Okay, they haven't judged the people fairly and kept that law, or those laws, right? Nor walked after the counsel of God. So they turned their back on them and those laws. They're doing their own laws, making stuff up, and then they're corrupt, etc., etc. Horribly and speedily shall He come upon you. The wrath of God shall be upon them. For a sharp judgment shall be to them that be in high places, that have turned their back on God, and they're no longer keeping His law. They're not judging the people's right. Anyone that's accused of something or guilty of something, they're not judging them fairly. Okay, they haven't walked after the counsel of God. Okay, turned their back on Him. So they're going to get this wrath coming upon them, and it's very, very harsh to them in particular. For mercy will soon pardon the meanest. Okay, so if you have mercy on somebody else, if you go, yeah, okay, you did wrong, but okay, we understand. We won't chop your head off or execute you, whatever. Like, we'll just make you do community work or something like that. We understand. Okay, so yeah, we'll be lenient, but don't do it again. If you're like this meanie, this bully who's like, take him around the back and beat him up, take all their food, take all their children, take their clothing, all that sort of stuff, right? You're a real tyrant. There's always mercy for you, okay? Okay. If you show mercy, you'll be shown mercy by God. That's what it's basically saying. But mighty men shall be mightily tormented. If you're an authority and you're corrupt and all that sort of stuff, you've been given that power of authority, that rule by God. Let's say you die, you end up in hellfire, and because you had that responsibility, there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, and you abused it, well then your punishment or your torment is twice as much, because you're in that. It's harder for you because you're in that place of position and you messed up. For he which is Lord over all, everyone, shall fear no man's person. He's not afraid of anyone. He doesn't care who you are. You could be Hitler, Mussolini, whatever. He's not scared of you. Neither shall he stand in awe of any man's greatness, i.e., wow, you are a great president, you are this, you are that, loved by the people, so what? Yeah. For he hath made the small and great, and careth for all alike. Yeah. Every human being that he's made, great and small, rich and poor, etc., he cares for all of them. All of them. But a sore trial shall come upon the mighty. Okay, so, yeah, a judgment, a wrath of God. Okay, payback. Right? A test, even, shall come upon the mighty, those in power, those in rule, the authority, figures, kings, etc. Unto you, therefore, O kings, do I speak, that ye may learn wisdom and not fall away. Yeah. They should learn and do what is wise, and not go astray and then face God's punishment. For they that keep holiness, holy shall be judged holy, and they that have learned such things shall find what to answer. Wherefore set your affection upon his words, God's words. Desire them, and ye shall be instructed.